Today I'm taking the game Kiss, Marry, Kill and turning it into Display, Discard, Disparage. Now here's how it works. I'm going to take a look at 3 books featuring some kind of competition. Those books are Red Rising by Pierce Brown, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, and Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. This trio features a few of my all-time favorites, so it's going to be tough for me to decide which one to display or put on my bookshelf, which one to disparage or talk badly about, and which one to discard or throw in the trash. It's all fun and games until some book gets their feelings hurt. Warning, this video is going to contain some spoilers. Let's start with the bronze medal finisher. Which book do I have coming in last place out of these 3, and therefore being the one that I discard? Well, that's going to be Ready Player One. Don't get me wrong, I gave this book 5 stars when I read it, but it's just outclassed by the other 2. The quick rundown of this book and its competition is that in the year 2044, like almost everyone else on the planet, Wade Watts' life isn't great. So basically, everybody escapes the real world to spend time in the Oasis, which is a virtual reality space where you can be your true self. But the creator of this VR world has died, promising riches, power, and fame to the person who can solve his riddles and win the competition. So why am I ranking it below the other 2 books? Well, for starters, and I apologize to the e-gamers out there, but there's just something about a physical competition that has more appeal to me. I grew up playing soccer, basketball, and baseball, so I can understand what it takes to excel at that kind of athletic competition. I can't really wrap my head around what skills it takes to be the best at a certain video game. That's just not me. Secondly, I loved the million pop culture references that this book contains when I read it like 10 years ago, but I'm not sure that I'd like it as much now. In retrospect, it was probably overkill. I mean, in one sense, it's what makes the book so great, but I bet it would probably give me a headache if I had to read it again. And finally, it doesn't help that my taste for Ernest Cline has soured in recent years, and that's because I thought Ready Player Two was meh at best, and Armada. It was an absolute disaster, with stereotypical characters and a plot line you can predict from 10,000 miles away. But I'll save that gripe session for another day. Bottom line, Ready Player One is getting discarded. So let's talk about the book that I'm going to disparage. Well, again, I gave this book 5 stars, but if I have to pick one of the remaining 2 to talk trash about, it's going to be The Hunger Games. Sorry, the odds were never in its favor. First off, there's an unnecessary love story. Katniss is a strong, independent young lady who's fighting for her life. There shouldn't be any time for her to have an internal debate about who to be romantically involved with or what PR move to make, which one looks best. The most important thing is for her to stay alive. Everything else besides food, water, shelter wouldn't even register. But also, she friend zones Gale in favor of Peeta? Gale is her BFF, her hunting buddy, and a person she's bonded with a ton due to the shared trauma of their parents' deaths. But she pushes all that personal history to the side for a baker boy she barely knows? Okay. Not buying it. Also, the competition itself, and this goes for any battle royale style competition, but one strategy is to basically hide and wait for others to do the dirty work for you. And that's kind of what Katniss does. She kills like 1 person on purpose and 2 pretty much by accident, and then she wins, but you know, she doesn't actually prove that she's the baddest Mama Jamma and Pan-Am in the process. And that leads me to my favorite book of these 3. It was neck and neck, but I had to pick a favorite to display on my hypothetical bookshelf, so I chose Red Rising, which is basically The Hunger Games on steroids. Now here's the gist of the competition in Red Rising from the ultimate source, Wikipedia, which says, each house is assigned a fortress and a banner, called a standard, to defend within the Institute's confines with the goal of warring with each other until one house enslaves the others by using the standard. Basically, it's a kind of pretend, mostly real game of capture the flag between upper-class teenagers trying to prove themselves worthy of ruling the lower classes. So let's start off with the fact that there's an individual element and a team element to the competition in this book. It adds a little extra something to it. And you can make the case that Ready Player One and the Hunger Games have a bit of that too, but it's not as well balanced as in Red Rising, which features houses, like I talked about, along the lines of schools that are competing against one another. Think Yale versus Harvard or Slytherin versus Gryffindor. But what makes Red Rising my favorite of these three is, without a doubt, the personal strategy and complexity of the competition. Sure, you can be physically hurt or even killed, but you can also gain favor of those in power or be disgraced and lose social standing. It adds another dimension to each decision. So every action the main character Darrow takes either makes a friend or enemy for life, because his fellow competitors won't be dead and gone after the competition, after this whole thing is over. A lot of them are going to survive and live alongside him for a long time to come. That means betrayals are extra juicy, loyalties better be 100% confirmed, and there's ultimately only one way to prove you're a born and bred leader, and that's to conquer the others in some way, shape, or form. So what other books with competitions can you think of? Let me know in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to like and subscribe so I can achieve the total enlightenment that YouTube promises when I pass certain threshold. All hail the almighty YouTube, and happy reading.